What is the biggest unsolved mystery in human history? So the monarch butterfly migrates to Mexico and back every year. During the year there are a full 4 generations of butterflies that live and die during the journey. Upon returning back from Mexico, the butterfly manages to find the same trees its relative started out at despite never having been there. An active one in the archaeology world is the exact time frame of when humans made it to the Americas. The date keeps getting pushed back with more controversial discoveries that then just turn to evidence as they pile up. It's a fascinating story to see unfold. Yeah, I like this one too. I think many of the traces of early settlement are likely submerged. Sea levels were much lower during the Ice Age and the majority of human settlements are along the coasts, so a huge piece of our history is probably lying on the seafloor completely undisturbed and possibly well preserved. We like to think we understand the universe and that physics is a well-grounded discipline, and in some ways it is. However, we have no idea what dark matter or dark energy is, and yet we think it makes up 27% and 68% of the universe respectively. In Australia, in 2011, someone broke into a TV station and spent 4 hours flushing $100,000 down the toilet. D.B. Pooper. Im in Australia. About to head into the sewers. Why is there something rather than nothing? Is still pretty much it imho. This question right here kept me up at night for a while, and used to give me straight up panic attacks when I thought about it too much. Reality is a scary concept. That most of human history is undocumented and we will never know our entire history as a species. We didn't start recording our history until 5000 BCE. We do know we shifted to agrarian societies around 10,000 BCE, but beyond that we have no idea what we were like as a species. We will never know the undocumented parts of our history that spans tens of thousands of years. We are often baffled by the technological progress of our ancient ancestors, like those in Shea Asia who must have been masters of the sea to have colonized the variety of islands there and sailed vast stretches of ocean to land on Australia and New Zealand. What is ironic is we currently have an immense amount of information about our world today and the limited documented history of our early days as a species, but that is only a small fraction of our entire history. Late to the party, but I haven't seen anyone mention the Indus Valley script. There was a huge civilization in northern India and Pakistan around 3300–1300 BC. It spanned more area than any other civilization at the time. They invented writing independently, something only done 5 to 6 times in history. But to this day, with all the thousands of inscriptions we have and all the documented contact with other civilizations, we haven't deciphered their writing. There's no known Rosetta Stone, no known descendant scripts, no known documentation of the language other than what is written in the Indus Valley script. But the biggest mystery isn't how to read the script or what it says, but the question of whether we'll ever be able to know. Is it even possible to decipher a language we know absolutely nothing about? Edit. To all the people talking about AI, yes. I get it. AI is cool. But this is a far larger task than the pattern recognizing and replicating AI we have today can tackle on its own. Some AI has been used to find patterns in which characters go together most often, but this is a long shot away from being able to read the script. AI will have to be far more advanced than it is today to be able to crack this code. The final words of the Emperor Titus were, "I have but one regret." We don't know and never will what that regret was. Edit. On reflection, it's even better. I have made but one mistake. Supreme confidence. Einstein's last words were in German, but the nurse did not speak German, so we will never know what he said. Who is going to Long John Silver's enough to keep them around? So I have a personal experience, sort of. My father had a coworker who was a great guy. Good at his work, fun to talk to, nobody had any complaints about him. He lived in an apartment right next to work, so the night watchman at the workplace would see him whenever he went out. So one night, he went out in his pajamas, talking on his cell phone, nodded at the watchman. The watchman didn't think much of it. After all, it's not all that weird to take a walk even though it was quite late. He didn't think much of it. The watchman didn't see him come back, but he figured he missed him when he went on his bathroom break probably. But the guy didn't show up at work the next day. Someone from work went to check up and he wasn't there. Nothing was disturbed, he was just gone. Everyone thought he had dropped dead, killed by thugs or an accident or some medical condition. The workplace filed a police report. Here's when it gets weird. It turns out, the guy had created a fake identity. Any credentials he had given were fake. The references he had given had never heard of him. The family address he'd given didn't exist. The police didn't find anything illegal in the apartment, but they didn't find anything that would give a clue as to who he was either. We moved away a few years ago, but I don't think the case was ever solved. It's definitely the best unexplained mystery that I've personally come across. Maybe he was a spy. Maybe the question of how many things are in our oceans that we did not discover yet. The sea is hella scary to me, and not because of the water. Why did we all just globally decide that those blue Dutch cookie tins hold sewing supplies? I love unsolved mysteries, but one that always gets me is the murder of Missy Beavers. She was killed in the early morning at a church that she taught yoga at. Security footage from the church showed the murderer roaming the halls of the church all night, but that's not what's weird. What's weird is that the murderer was dressed head to toe in police riot gear. It is the weirdest and eeriest video footage and is just unsettling. There's lots of theories, but her murder has never been solved, and I believe there hasn't even been a real suspect in the case. Neither medicine nor science has an answer for what consciousness is, or where it originates. The lead mask mystery of Brazil. The bodies of two men found wearing lead masks covering their eyes with a notebook that mysteriously read, 4:30 p.m. be at the determined place. 6:30 p.m. swallow capsules, after effect, protect metals, wait for signal, in Portuguese. Where the fuck did my 10mm socket go? Why does Donald Duck put a towel around his waist when he gets out of the shower if he doesn't wear pants? How the universe is even possible? Why the fuck do we even exist? Back in 2002 I folded and placed 3 $100 bills in my back right pocket while standing in my living room. I grabbed my wallet from the bar, walked to the front door where I decided it was safer to transfer the $100s to my wallet. My pocket was empty. There was no one else home. I looked everywhere for more than an hour. This episode has seriously damaged my sanity and self-esteem. The disappearance of Asha Degree. 9-year-old Asha Degree disappeared from her home in Shelby, North Carolina on Valentine's Day 2000. She went to bed the night before, and when her mother went to wake her up in the morning, Asha was gone. She was seen walking along Highway 18 at around 4 o'clock in the morning. Several passing motorists saw her, and when one turned around and began to approach her, she left the roadside and ran into a wooded area. It was a cold night and the witness said there was a storm raging when he saw her. She wasn't wearing a jacket or socks. A year after she vanished, a construction worker found her book bag in a wooded area. It was wrapped in a plastic bag. Did D.B. Cooper survive or did he die? The Alps murders. To this day not only is there no suspect but seemingly absolutely no motive to the murders of the Al-Hilli family and a completely unrelated French cyclist. The police don't even know who the target was. The more you look at the case, the more questions there are. The victims were killed in the manner of a professional hit, but using a gun that no professional would use. The gunman was experienced and calm enough to leave the scene quickly and efficiently, so much so that the cyclist on the scene minutes behind Mollier saw and heard absolutely nothing. The murders, though, were uncontrolled and carried out in broad daylight where anybody could have chanced upon the scene. Indeed, had Saad not beached his car trying to escape, most of the victims may have survived. No suspect. No motive. No clear target. Weird mix of professional hit and complete novice. This case baffles me utterly. I dearly hope to see it solved one day. The Fermi Paradox. There are more solar systems out there than grains of sand on the Earth, but absolutely zero evidence of type 1, 2, 3 civilizations. Here's a fact. If we start traveling right now and go at light speed, 95% of all galaxies are unreachable. In other words, if a civilization arises somewhere in the universe right now, there is a 95% chance we can never know about it. It's really just our local group that is accessible. As for life in our galaxy, timing. Stars are really, really far apart. I think we would need to be a space-capable civilization for about 500 years to even have a small chance of hearing from another civilization in our own galaxy. To me, this whole paradox is a storm in a teacup. The only thing it proves is that faster-than-light travel is impossible. Cicada 3301. Who were they? What were they doing? Were they some secret three-letter agencies? The murder of Atlantia, Mongolian model. Nobody knows for sure what happened, but the general theory that Malaysia's former prime minister and his witch of a wife murdered her is generally accepted as truth. Poor woman had C4 strapped all over her body before she was blown up. Google the story and I'll be happy to fill in the gaps for any further info. My family are very close to politicians and I interviewed the lead investigator. When I was a kid, I was playing with a bouncy ball in my room. It had rolled under my bed and I went to go grab it. Absolutely nothing was under the bed. Being a small child with an attention span of a goldfish, I started to play with Legos instead. A couple minutes later, the ball rolled out from under the bed, seemingly from nowhere. Why is the letter D in fridge, but not in refrigerator?